that deal, there was a public-private line where depending on, how he feels about you, he wants to be out in public with you and show you off to the world, right? And maybe he's not so proud to be out in public with you. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is, hey, if you are good enough for right now and you are good enough for tonight and you're not good enough for being out in public, there's something wrong there, right?
Yeah. And that's one thing where it's not going to be super overt.
Right.
You really do have to read the room there and be a little bit smarter about it.
Sure. And there may be like logical reasons why he does it. Like if he's a celebrity or there's certain things that he's got to do ahead of time before like a marriage or something like that. There's a process and procedure to do that so that you don't get caught up in the paparazzi or some kind of ridiculousness, right? There's a way to do that in a smart way without it coming off as a red flag. And those circumstances are like few and far between, but they exist. We recognize that sometimes exceptions happen, but in general, if dude doesn't want to be out with you in public, there's something up. Something's up. And it may be that you aren't the only woman. It may be that he doesn't want you finding out.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I'm just talking to other people right now.
Sure. And the thing is, if you're not in like an exclusive relationship, then at least be open about that. But that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is, hey, there's a difference between being in a committed relationship and being in a relationship where you're a little bit casual but want to explore your options. If everything is sexual, that goes back to him just wanting to hang out at night.
Yeah.
There's something wrong there. Like, don't get me wrong. That's the fundamental exchange is, sex and babies from a woman and resources, protection, and all that from a dude.
Yeah.
I get that that's the case, but like if that's all there is and he's not doing his part and you're just letting it happen, that's kind of on you.
But there's also, you have to really evaluate whether or not there's actual substance to the relationship.
Sure.
As opposed to, are you literally just recreational use only?
Yeah, and if you're in that position, you may want to get out of that situation. That's why we're bringing it up.
Like, if you don't actually, share with one another and talk about things, and even, I'm not saying just debate politics all the time or something.
Gosh,
there might be a lot of
don't do that.
hurt feelings. But, if you guys like read, I know it sounds really nerdy, but honestly, like read books together, like, or something like, not even, or just, I don't know, listen to a podcast together.
Or make a podcast. Who knows?
Yeah. Or talk about stuff back and forth where it's like, what do you think? If there's actual, maybe you don't need that. But for me personally, if there's nothing in between here, I'm sorry, it ain't going to work.
Right. Whereas a lot of dudes, sometimes they just don't care, right? They could be a bimbo so long as they're doing the other things, right?
And that's fine.
Different strokes for different folks.
Peeing in cereal.
Not here to pee in your cereal. All right. So here's the big elephant in the room is if you look at him and you think, I can fix him or things will get better someday.
There it is. There's the beauty and the beast
the beauty
factor.
and the beast, right? And don't get me wrong, like there is an appropriate and inappropriate time for this kind of thing, right? Like, for example, when we were younger and we got together, there was a lot of development that I had to do to go ahead and grow into a respectable, contributing member of society. And you were taking a bet, right? You were betting on a dark horse, and it paid off miraculously for you. You did really well in this.
Oh, not miraculously. I wouldn't say that.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's a big difference between where we're at and where we started.
Yes.
Yes.
Obviously. But I think you in high school, when we met, it's much, clearly a lot of things have morphed and developed, but the basic character traits, they were there.
Sure.
And that's what, honestly, that was the draw there.
Yeah, and I always wanted to go ahead and be a husband with a stay-at-home wife. That was what I wanted going into it.
Even then, I was scared to be like, well, I kind of just want to stay home and have babies, but I don't know. Because for me, like any other relationships that I'd seen and stuff, well, it's a given that you work until you have babies. But even then,
Right. And that's
so
not something I was interested whatsoever, right? I knew that I was willing to take on the burden of performance and to do that which needed to be done. And yeah, that's an attractive character trait, but we didn't know that it would turn out like it has.
no.
Right?
But I mean, honestly, that whole conversation took place within the first year.
Sure.
I mean, about 6 months, we kind of knew where this was going.
Right.
But between then and the first and year one's end was like that took place where it was like, this is where I want to go. Oh, really? Me too. I was like, oh, good.
Sure.
It's like, oh gosh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause
but-
it's kind of it's a big deal, and it's a deal breaker in this when you want this kind of relationship.
Sure. And the thing is, like, you know, when I'm talking about this red flag, I'm not talking about like normal developmental things that, you know, is a natural progression
No.
for someone to become a person of character and to be a contributing member of society. What I'm talking about more is like they have some crazy things going on.
You mean
Any of the other red flags, and you think that you're going to go ahead and nitpick
okay,
him
I
and
can fix
henpeck him
him.
enough for him to be acceptable to you down the road. Like, I get it. Like, you may be Twitter pated, you may have all the hormones raging, but some things they'll get to you. And once you're locked in in a lot of ways. What do you think? Pretty straightforward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
these things, it's like, oh, but I love him. But no.
Yeah. If the dude is secretive and doesn't want to go ahead and talk about what he's doing, like this reminds me of like Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, please. What do you do for a living? Please. And then they spell out the acronym like in the last season that you actually
Yeah.
figure out what he's doing. That's hilarious. But like throughout
Ring bear.
the whole process, he's just secretive about what he does, and like he's the stereotypical playboy, and you know goes around and does the thing, and doesn't really let people in. If he is,
And if there isn't mutual like, exchange back and forth of, getting to know who the other person is, if they don't even tell you who they are, that's a problem.
yeah. Another thing that I would say is a huge red flag is if he forces affection, like, and not like in a good way. I'm talking like he is just in your grill all the dang time and you just can't breathe. It's like, you may be embarrassed at the amount of attention you're getting, or you may see it as a compliment, but at some point that may not work out.
Well, I would phrase it like, if you cannot set your own boundaries, or if you feel like you can't even vocalize that kind of concern or make that kind of request, run.
Run very quickly.
That's not okay. It's not. Especially, I would say if, you can't even talk about that, or if especially as phases of life change, and you just might not be like, today I am overstimulated, and if you like so much as like put two hands on me at a time, I'm going to scream, like that kind of thing. And you can't even voice that, where it's that bad and you can't voice that. That's a problem, especially because ostensibly in this level of relationship, that kind of thing and that kind of hard left kind of change. If I told you that, would you?
Told me what?
Like, it's like, you need to not touch me at all.
I think it'd be really
Today.
weird.
It would be really weird. You would be like, something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
What
and
is?
then- and
What
we'd
is
figure
your-
it out.
Exactly. That is the thing. If you can't have that kind of relationship with someone where you're okay saying that, even, even if you get past the point of stop, you
Sure.
know, that kind of thing. Even after then, you can't even say that. That's a problem because there should be a point in time where you kind of all of a sudden, you know,
Sometimes stuff happens. Yeah.
and then it should make the other person go, wait, are you okay?
Sure. Because
Let's
it's not
talk about
natural
this.
behavior.
Let's help you. Do you like even, I mean, it sounds extreme, but it does happen. Do you need a grippy sock vacation?
Yeah. Maybe so.
You know, so stuff happens. And, you know, people get burnt out and people, you know, get pushed and stuff. Life happens, life be life, and enough where you should be able to ask for help.
Sure.
And even in this kind of relationship, I know that sometimes even me asking for help is not even asking at all, just going, just the mannerism. You'll just pick up on it and go, oh, this is bad.
Yeah, because there's a difference. And I think this is talking about like not being able to read the room more than anything else.
And that's exactly
this is
the highest order of not being able to read the room when you
Right.
can't even.
Whereas what you're talking about is, hey, if we can go ahead and read the room and address things, then you have a healthy, functioning relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if the guy is not reading the room and just is trying to go ahead and do the thing without consent, there's huge levels of problems with that. But definitely run if that's the case. Another red flag to go ahead and talk about is very similar to one of them we talked about earlier, but if all of his exes are crazy, it indicates that
They're crazy, or even if they're crazy or they're crazy.
right.
Both of them.
Either he's bad at picking or he is not being honest about what's going on.
Either one is bad.
Both of them are bad. So we went ahead and hit that one pretty good earlier. So he's not interested in what you have to say at all. I think this goes ahead and goes back to if there's no substance to the relationship, there may be a problem. There's clearly problems when we're talking about, hey, you're looking for a long-term relationship or a marriage out of it. But if it's just, hey, he's cute, and
I'm hot, you're hot. Let's get it popping.
if that's the deal, then maybe this isn't that big a deal.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. If you'd like to see more from this podcast, you can go ahead and click here, where the podcast episode is linked in its entirety. If you're new here, you might want to consider subscribing right here. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.